Frank.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We have our conveyance bill with a couple of amendments that have been added, and it is my understanding that we'll have those subs here very, very shortly. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and begin going through. Everyone has a synopsis of the conveyances in front of you. So we're going to go ahead and get started with Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is House Resolution 1376, and this is our annual conveyance bill. And Frank Smith has compiled all this, and I'm going to let him, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, to go through these each one, and if there are some technical questions that need to be asked, Frank can certainly answer those, and I'll stand by, and we've got, as you said, a couple others that are being added, and the substitute is being drawn.
Representative Green, I think that's a wise decision on your part.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Smith, if you would make your way to the microphone, and let's begin.
Wise decision.
That's the same decision I made last year when I was carrying this bill, by the way. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, you should have a synopsis in front of you, and Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I'll go through each one quickly.
Let's plan on going through each one quickly, and members, if you have a question about any as we go, if you will make sure that you hit your light or get our attention so that we can stop, I think that might be a better way to do it rather than going all the way through and coming back. So if you have a question as we go, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Okay. The first item here is in Baldwin County. This is amending the 40-year ground lease we did in 2010 to the GEO Group to construct a private prison. This is simply amending in .44 of an acre to extend a sewer line and mechanical bar screen. The consideration for this is Baldwin State Prison will receive enhanced water sewer treatment at no cost. The next item in Carroll County, this is the conveyance of what was the John Tanner State Park to Carroll County. There are restrictions with this conveyance that they must place a conservation easement on the property to protect it in perpetuity for use as a public park. Natural Resources, through its board, has removed the Heritage Preserve designation. In addition to protecting it as a public park for perpetuity, the county has agreed to pay $76,000, which is the outstanding bond debt, and $1,000 for a boat for the property. The next item in Clinch County is a conveyance to the Department of Transportation of .045 of an easement and .02 of 1 acre of property to widen Highway 441. The next item in Coffee County is the old Douglas Poultry Lab has been declared surplus property. That's 1.55 acres. That will be sold by competitive bid at fair market value. The next item in Dade County, this is an exchange of .683 acres that the state owns and to acquire 3 acres that the county owns. In 2011, a tornado demolished the forestry unit, and this property swap will allow forestry to build a larger forestry unit in a better location. The next item in Dodge County is the conveyance of the Eastman Armory to Dodge County for the consideration of public purpose, which we believe to be a sheriff's house or sheriff's office, and the outstanding general obligation bond debt. The next item in Daugherty County is the conveyance of 2.1303 acres, the old Albany Farmers Market. This will be sold by competitive bid for the fair market value. The next item again in Daugherty County is the conveyance of .068 of 1 acre at Albany Tech. This is to construct for GDOT to construct a deceleration lane. The next item in Franklin County is just under 1 acre conveyance of the Carnesville Poultry Lab. This has been declared surplus by agriculture and will be sold by competitive bid at fair market value. Next item in Habersham County, approximately 1/10 of an acre. This is the old Cornelia Entomology Lab and Poultry Lab. This will be sold by competitive bid for fair market value. In Macon County, approximately 1 acre, the Montezuma Poultry Veterinary Diagnostic Lab will be sold by competitive bid for fair market value. The next item in Madison County, this is the old Madison Forestry Subunit, 0.65 of 1 acre. Madison County will acquire this and allow forestry to retain their files, equipment, and staff in the office free of charge. It's a good partnership because Madison County is going to have their first responders unit co-located with forestry's personnel in there, again, free of charge to forestry. McIntosh County, the next item, this is a conveyance of 46 acres of the McIntosh YDC to the Coastal Regional Commission. This is a state entity requesting the acquisition for their office. There are approximately $2.2 million remaining of outstanding bond debt, and we would ask the Coastal Regional Commission to retire that debt before the conveyance. Mitchell County, this is the conveyance of 1.5 acres, the old Camilla Poultry Lab. This is to be sold by competitive bid for the fair market value. In Montgomery County, 1.5 acres, formerly the Montgomery Forestry Subunit. This is similar to the other deal where the county has agreed to allow forestry personnel to stay, and the county will take over the operating and maintenance expenses of the building and allow forestry to store their equipment and their personnel and files in the office. Muskogee County, the consolidated Columbus government is requesting 0.054 of 1 acre. This is for a traffic circle at the Quick Start Columbus Regional Campus. The next item in Quitman County, this is the conveyance of about 1.01 acres, formerly the Stewart subunit for forestry. This would be sold by competitive bid at fair market value. Next item in Telfair County, the city of Milan is requesting the acquisition of 2.26 acres. That's the remaining portion of what was to be the Milan State Prison. The fair market value has already been determined by appraisal to be $10,000, and the city of Milan will pay that fair market value. Ware County, this would be the conveyance of 0.009 of 1 acre from Okefenokee Technical College. These are for road improvements. This is simply a turning radius and stormwater drainage improvement. Washington County, this will be the conveyance of 2.583 acres, which is the old Sandersville Armory, to the city of Sandersville. This requires that they maintain the property for public purpose, which will be a 911 operations center, a senior center, and a Boys and Girls Club. The next item in Wayne County, this is the conveyance of 6.5537 acres, formerly the Jessup Farmers Market. This would be sold by competitive bid at the fair market value. The last item in Whitfield County, approximately 0.55 of an acre, the Dalton Poultry Lab, again to be sold by competitive bid at fair market value. Mr. Chairman, that's all on the list. I can briefly discuss what the two additions would be in the committee substitute if you would like me to.
If you don't mind, let's go ahead and hear about the two amendments as well.
Sure. The first one, it would be in Rome, Georgia. Last year there was discussion of surplusing the Northwest Regional Hospital. This is a vacant hospital that is currently costing Department of Behavioral Health about $1 million a year to just maintain. And this would be to surplus that and sell it for by competitive bid. And then
Yeah, we're going to get some questions on this one.
Okay.
Representative Buckner.
I thought there was some bond indebtedness on that building. Is there
There
still?
is. There's approximately $11 million worth of outstanding bonds, which the sale would have to generate at least $11 million, or we would not be able to sell that property. Would have to retire that bond debt.
And just to refresh my memory, this is the Northwest Regional Mental Health Hospital that they closed.
Yes, ma'am.
Because they said that there was not a need for it anymore, I guess.
I probably can't comment on the reason for the closure. I just know it is closed, and we are to try to sell it.
Can you give us idea on acres and buildings on that property?
I do not know how many buildings are on that property. It's about 142 acres, I believe. Let me be sure that's correct. About 132 acres. Sorry.
And you're not familiar with how many buildings are on that campus?
A lot, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, more than a lot, I think.
Quite a few. Yes.
Absolutely. Now,
Yes.
is that all of that campus, or is there some additional land there as well?
I believe that is the entire campus that is contiguous. There is some other a piece of property that would be retained, but that is the entire contiguous campus of 132 acres.
Okay. Representative Buckner.
And just because I forgot, I was so surprised to hear it was on the list. You're selling it for fair market value
Yes, ma'am.
as long as it's in excess of the $11 million bond indebtedness.
Yes, ma'am. Your authorization would start our process of now having it appraised. When the appraisals come in, we would review those, and then we would send it out for public bid, for competitive bid. And if we don't generate interest of at least $11 million, there's no way the state can dispose of it.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not, but it's my understanding that in the past, mental health hospitals, if they wanted to have inpatient and outpatient on the same campus, that they couldn't do that and receive like Medicaid funding for the patient's care. So now that the hospital is closed and and the behavior medicine program is trying to set up outpatient clinics, are any of those outpatient clinics appropriate to be used for that space rather than renting or leasing or building new buildings for those? Or do we know if that's been explored?
I have no idea whether that's been explored, and
I can tell you that Representative Reese has been doing a lot of good work trying to find alternative use, state use for this, and the authorization to sell would not prohibit the state for still looking for an alternative state use.
Okay.
This is just starting the process of trying to convey. So if we find if there's another state use, by all means that would be our first course of action.
And the only other question I had is that it was my understanding there was an extremely well-equipped, fairly new, very fancy for, I don't know another word to use, lab.
Right.
Is that in this parcel as well?
Yes, ma'am. That's the majority of the outstanding $11 million worth of debt. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. And the only other item that was the addition is you'll remember the Music Hall of Fame in Macon was closed a couple of years ago, and in the substitute contemplates the conveyance of that 3 acres in the building to Mercer to use for their purposes for classrooms, offices, and training. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
members of the committee, anybody have any questions on any of those conveyances? Representative Hill.
If I might, Mr. Smith, it's John Tanner State Park. This is Carroll County. This is ringing a bell. Am I just having a moment of deja vu here, or did we not discuss something like this last year? If you could refresh my memory.
You have an exceptional memory, Mr. Chairman. In last year, House Bill 90 authorized the Department of Natural Resources to remove a heritage preserve designation by a certain process. That process includes public hearings and a board vote to remove Heritage Preserve, which is the highest designation of protection for natural resources. They have done that. They have had their public hearings. They have taken their board vote. This is just the final step, authorizing the conveyance of that property with the deed restriction that the county must maintain it as a public park. If they do not, it would revert back to the state.
Okay,
So
very good.
The benefit really here is that the state no longer has to pay the operating and maintenance costs, and it's still a public park.
Okay, thank you very much for the update.
Sure.
Representative Jurgens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned the old Music Hall of Fame building. Is that on a competitive bid, or is that on just on appraised value? How's that going to work?
It's going to be on appraised value.
Just on appraised value?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Jurgens. Members, any other questions? Wow, this is unusually quiet for this committee.
I'm okay with everything. I just hate that Northwest Regional Mental Health Hospital.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember how many buildings is on that, but I know that if we were to say 30 or 40 would be under considerably, if I remember correctly.
I'd say it's more than that.
Seems like it's pushing 100 if I remember correctly. Or
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Members, anything further? Look,
If we go ahead and pass this, then all it does is start the process to let people know that it's available, and then if the department can figure out a way to use it, it just stops when they decide that they can use it, correct?
Correct. As you know, our process takes some time. So
I think it takes a year and a half or so, doesn't it?
I think I heard something like 560 days or 520 days.
The committee is very well informed. Yes.
Well, I'll move.
Or at least a portion of the committee is very, very well informed.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Okay, Representative, I'll recognize you.
I move to pass of substitute by committee sub HR 1376.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on HR 1376, LC 352595? It must be time to vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Very good job. Committee, I'm not sure how to handle this other than to say that we're adjourned in very short order today. Thank you.